Good morning. Heather and I were talking this morning about the concept of giving. We're catching up on the success grants, and we're hearing back from the executive directors on how they're doing towards hitting their objectives. And as we talked about giving, we talked about some of the things we've learned over the course of the last couple of years in working with donors and understanding the impact of giving, and we wanted to share some of that with you. In Durham, we found that folks that have the ability to give less than 1% away to local charities in Durham. And we'd like to play a role together with you in making that much larger, 2% or 3%. We think that we can. One of the things to do that, though, is to really understand the impact of our giving. We make tons of decisions all day long about what schools our kids are going to go to, or what we're going to wear that day, or last night I probably spent 10 minutes in front of a menu at a restaurant. But in the past, I'd been guilty of spending too little time in understanding the impact of my charitable donations, and I'll tell you a little bit about what that meant for me. In the past, I was very often apt to give money to where my friends were giving. Somebody would do a fundraiser for something, and I'd write a $50 check or a $100 check or a $200 check. And in fact, wasn't doing a lot of homework on the different charities that I was looking at and understanding their impact. Which were the ones that were really moving the ball forward? Were they possibly the ones that were moving the ball forward that my friends weren't involved in? Well, I never really took the time to really understand that. But what ended up happening, I think, in retrospect, is that with every dollar that I gave, it amounted to a vote. If I were to write a check for $200 to a charity, they'd take that as 200 votes that they're doing something that was good. It was validation that their mission was going along the lines of the right way. Challenge was that in many cases I could have written a $1,000 check. If I had really understood the impact that they were making on the community, maybe how many kids they were placing in mentoring relationships, or how many homeless folks they were sheltering, or the burden, or the way that they're able to ease the burden of government, I would have been able to give more. But because I gave $200, the charity was understanding from me and hearing from me, maybe that didn't matter. Maybe the charity was able to raise $500,000 without having a strategic plan or really measuring the metrics of their success. Well, I was in fact becoming part of the problem. We'd like to be able to help you to play a role in understanding not just about the 8 charities that DurhamCares has, because we've got great ones. They're focused on operating metrics. They're easing the burden of government, and we'd like to think they're all smart investments. But there are 1,400 charities in Durham, and many of them are great, and we surely don't have a monopoly on those. And so if you give, and we want you to give, and we want you to give sacrificially, please endeavor to understand the impact of the charity that they're making. Not just because they talk to your heart, many of them will, there's some great stories, but also because they talk to your head. And for the ones that really impact both the heart and the head, think and pray about how you might be able to give sacrificially to them. And for the ones that just talk to your heart, but maybe not to your head so much, think long and hard before you make a donation to them. Because again, every check you write and every dollar you spend amounts to a vote. And in many cases, charities need to understand that the impact that they're making is going to be what ends up really helping to energize you and make a real difference in our community. So that's just some thoughts for today. We'd love to get your input. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you for loving your neighbor.